Patience is not waiting. Patience is strength. It is the quiet endurance that carries the self through seasons not yet ready to bloom. Impatience collapses the path. Patience prepares it. And every great destiny is built on what the self sustains. When nothing seems to move. In Iqbal's vision, patience is not passive or weak. It is disciplined endurance. Patience protects becoming from haste, from fear, from premature judgment. It allows hidden growth to mature into visible strength, and it stabilizes the self when progress is still underground. Today we continue our 50-part journey through Khudi, Allama Iqbal's masterpiece on the awakening and formation of the self. This is episode 39. Together we explore patience, not as delay, but as the inner power that protects growth, deepens resilience, and shapes destiny quietly from within. Take a moment, slow your breathing, and let these reflections settle into your heart. Patience is often misunderstood as waiting, but Iqbal saw patience not as delay, but as strength. Strength that carries the self through seasons not yet ready to bloom. Patience is not passive. It is disciplined endurance. Endurance shaped by purpose and protected by hope. The self learns that impatience breaks process. Growth has rhythm. Rhythm honored creates harmony. Rhythm violated creates collapse. The self understands that patience is not weakness. Weakness complains. Patience prepares. Preparation silently builds capability. The self realizes that impatience emerges from fear of stagnation, but stagnation is not prevented by rushing. It is prevented by meaningful persistence. The self sees that patience is trust in becoming. Becoming takes time. Time deepens identity. When used consciously, the self learns that patience protects effort from premature judgment. Premature judgment kills possibility. Patience allows possibility to mature into evidence. The self understands that progress is rarely visible. While it is happening, roots develop in darkness. Darkness does not deny growth. It hides it until strength is ready. The self recognizes that patience requires humility. Humility accepts that the self does not control timing. Timing belongs to reality. Effort belongs to the self. The self realizes that patience sharpens attention. Attention freed from urgency sees clearly. Clarity guides wise action. The self learns that patience deepens resilience. Resilience is built in the space between effort and outcome. Outcome delayed strengthens endurance. The self sees that patience transforms frustration into focus. Frustration drains energy. Focus redirects it. The self understands that impatience devours meaning. Meaning grows slowly. Slow meaning lasts. Fast meaning evaporates. The self recognizes that patience is not denial. It is timing. Timing aligned with purpose is power. The self learns that rushing produces mistakes. Mistakes repeated weaken confidence. Patience preserves precision. Precision strengthens self-trust. The self realizes that patience is active waiting. Active waiting is deliberate preparation. Preparation meets opportunity with readiness. The self sees that impatience grows when comparison grows. Comparison accelerates anxiety. Patience reduces comparison. Reduced comparison restores direction. The self understands that patience is form of courage. Courage to remain committed while uncertain. Uncertainty does not erase purpose. It tests it. The self learns that patience organizes emotion. Emotion unregulated distorts action. Emotion settled clarifies behavior. The self recognizes that patience protects integrity. Integrity collapses when the self abandons values for speed. Speed gained without alignment becomes loss. The self sees that patience sustains effort through seasons of dryness. Dry seasons do not mean failure. They mean formation. Formation is invisible until maturity reveals it. The self understands that patience expands capacity. Capacity grows when pressure continues, and the self refuses to break. The self realizes that patience is not tolerance of stagnation. It is commitment to growth. Without haste, the self begins to understand. Patience is the silent companion of destiny. Without patience, effort fractures. With patience, effort becomes fate. The self begins to understand that patience is not the slowing of life. It is the maturing of direction. Direction rushed loses clarity. Direction matured gains depth. The self realizes that patience protects the self from emotional volatility. Volatility creates distortion. Distortion leads to error. Patience absorbs volatility and restores balance. The self learns that impatience is often hidden fear. Fear that progress is insufficient. Fear that time is running out. fear that others are ahead. Patience dissolves these illusions, one quiet moment at a time. The self sees. That patience builds inner confidence. Confidence emerging from speed is fragile. Confidence emerging from endurance is permanent. The self recognizes. That patience matures vision. Vision without patience remains fantasy. Vision with patience becomes plan. Plan with patience becomes reality. The self learns. That patience softens frustration without removing ambition. Ambition refined by patience becomes purpose. Purpose outlasts impulse. The self understands. That patience protects the self from reacting prematurely. Patience creates space for response. The self realizes. That patience teaches acceptance without surrender. Acceptance acknowledges reality. Surrender abandons it. Patience walks between both. The self notices. That patience extends perspective. Perspective widened reduces panic. Panic disrupts intention. Patience restores intention. The self learns. That patience is discipline distributed over time. Discipline without patience becomes burnout. Patience without discipline becomes stagnation. Together, they create steady becoming. The self sees. That impatience seeks shortcuts. Shortcuts weaken foundation. Weak foundations cannot hold future weight. The self understands. That patience builds tolerance for slow progress. Slow progress is still progress. Progress uninterrupted becomes transformation. The self recognizes. That patience refines motivation. Motivation driven by urgency lacks truth. Motivation shaped by patience reveals sincerity. The self learns. That patience makes the self heavy in the best way. Weight prevents drift. Weight anchors intention. The self realizes. That patience generates order within the mind. Ordered thought produces clarity. Clarity supports decision. The self sees. That impatience disconnects the self from the present moment. Disconnected selves cannot grow. Patience reconnects attention with reality. The self understands. That patience strengthens endurance. Endurance protects dreams from collapsing under delay. Delay becomes teacher rather than punishment. The self learns. That patience enlarges appreciation. What does not arrive instantly gains meaning. Meaning deepens gratitude. The self recognizes. That patience opens space for wisdom. Wisdom requires silence. Silence requires time. Patience provides both. The self sees. That patience dissolves comparison. Rhythm restored brings calm confidence. The self understands. That patience stabilizes faith. Faith questioned gains roots. Roots strengthened anchor the self. The self learns. That patience prepares the self to carry responsibility. Responsibility without patience overwhelms. Responsibility with patience matures. The self realizes. That patience is evidence of inner strength. Strength proven not in immediate action, but in sustained commitment. And the self begins to understand. Patience is not delay. It is preparation. There comes a moment when the self understands. That patience is not waiting for life. It is walking with life at the speed of truth. Truth is never rushed. The self realizes. That patience transforms pressure. Pressure resisted becomes suffering. Pressure accepted becomes strength. The self understands. That patience is not silence of effort. It is silence of anxiety. Effort continues. Anxiety dissolves. The self sees. That patience clarifies intention. Impulsive intention fractures. Enduring intention unifies. The self learns. That patience dignifies struggle. Struggle rushed loses meaning. Struggle endured reveal. The self understands. That impatience fractures identity. Identity fractured cannot carry destiny. Patience restores unity. The self realizes. That patience converts chaos into sequence. Sequence creates order. Order reveals possibility. The self sees. That patience refines ambition. Ambition untempered consumes life. Ambition refined gives life shape. The self understands. That patience dissolves arrogance. Arrogance assumes entitlement. Patience learns gratitude. Gratitude opens pathways. The self learns. That patience replaces reaction with understanding. Understanding transforms conflict into clarity. The self realizes. That patience is not resignation. It is mastery. Mastery over time. Mastery over impulse. Mastery over fear. The self sees. That patience deepens presence. Presence observed strengthens communication. Communication refined strengthens relationships. The self understands. That patience is protection. Protection from acting too soon. Protection from abandoning too early. Protection from losing oneself. In urgency. The self realizes that patience multiplies impact. Impact delayed often becomes impact magnified. The self sees that patience makes destiny sustainable. Destiny without patience burns out. Destiny with patience endures. And finally, the self understands patience is not a pause. It is a power that shapes the self quietly, deeply, and permanently.